Hello, hello, hello. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome back to my channel, my lovelies. If you've never been here before, thank you so much for clicking on my video. I am so happy you found me. I do so hope that you will like and subscribe before you leave. Become part of the Mama family. Mama's got your back, at least where makeup's concerned, and definitely when that makeup is cheap. Today is True Love Tuesday. I've been switching back and forth between true love and true crime. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going back to Greek mythology. There's something about Greek myths that I find to be so incredibly interesting. They're so much fun to talk about and research and learn about. And this week's story is super new to me, so I'm hoping it's new for you as well. We're talking about Zeus and Europa. It's going to be a really great time. If you've never been here for True Love Tuesday, we sit here, I tell you a fabulous story, and I do my makeup. I usually don't talk too awful much about the products that I'm using, but I will, of course, have everything listed in the description box below. And if you have a question about what I'm using or how I'm using it, all you have to do is shoot me a comment and I will get back to you. I do have my eyes done already today. Y'all, I am so happy with how my eyes turned out. I think they are so pretty. I used the Beauty Bay Berries palette. This is such a good one. It is super affordable. I mean, it's just good. Yummy berry tones with pops of pink. The shimmers in here are absolutely incredible. So yummy. And then I also used a few of my Nina loose neon pigments. I get these off of Amazon. They're like 15 bucks. They are worth every single penny. They're so good. I love the way that my makeup turned out today. If you guys are interested and would like to see how I did my eye makeup, I of course did a TikTok on today's look. The link for that will be in the description box as well, along with all the other tags to all my other socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. All right, jumping into today's story. Like I said, it's going to be such a fun one. So, Zeus and Europa. If you don't know anything about Greek mythology, it can be a lot sometimes. The Greek gods, they don't play. They very much treat humans like we're toys. And especially back in the day when these myths were written, I definitely feel like I feel like the way of life back then explains why the gods were written the way that they were. I feel like life can sometimes feel like you are a pawn in a higher being's game. I just feel like you're getting thrown all over the place for no reason. And I feel like they needed something to kind of rationalize all of just the world, basically, right? So when it comes to Zeus and Europa. Europa is probably one of the oldest stories, characters in Greek mythology. A lot of her stories are the beginning of so many others. Her origin story is pretty much the jumping point for so many other stories. Everything just kind of intertwines and connects in a way, and a lot of it stems back to Europa. Now, Europa is, of course, the lady that they supposedly named Europe after. And honestly, a little fun factoid is that they still honor Europa on the €2 coin in the, the European Union. If you guys see me looking over in this direction, it is because my notes are over there, and I have the information retention capabilities of a bluefish. It's terrible. So I need my notes just to make sure that I'm not sitting here fibbing to you guys. But yeah, lots and lots of notes. Today's video is going to be probably a little bit of a longer one. It is a fairly involved situation, so I hope you guys have just a minute to sit back, relax, hang out with me, because this one is a doozy. But like I said, they still honor Europa. Her story is detailed on the €2 coin from the European Union, and they do that so that they can honor the godmother of Europe. So in the beginning, Europa was a Phoenician princess. She was the personification of beauty and grace on earth. absolutely gorgeous woman, right? And when it comes to especially mortals in these stories, the mortal always has some defining factor, right? Whether they were especially strong or especially beautiful, something like that. You definitely are going to need some defining characteristic if you're going to get a god's attention. And boy, did she. And not only did she get their attention, but she got the attention of the king of the gods, Mr. Zeus himself. So she is a Phoenician princess. She's very young. She's just kind of doing her own thing. She's playing with her friends along the seashore and somehow catches the attention of Mr. Zeus. And the first time that he laid eyes on her, he fell dramatically and irrevocably in lust with her. Because with Zeus, it's never really about love. And in a lot of these myths, it's not really about love. And he set eyes on her for the very first time and instantly felt such an attraction to her. Because again, she is incredibly beautiful. He felt such an attraction to her that he felt this overwhelming desire to possess her. And with Zeus, again, he's the king of the gods, and he's pretty much very used to getting his own way, right? And he needed to possess her. He saw her playing along the shoreline with her friends and instantly decided that he needed to figure out a way to get close to her. So what does he do? He's got to figure out how to approach her without scaring her, without having her run away, right? So he thinks in his very godly, mighty brain and decides that the best way to approach this woman is to turn himself into a bull, right? And you might be thinking, oh, okay, alrighty then. Maybe not the best choice, but that's what he decided on. He said, I'm going to be a bull. So he turns himself into the most magnificent bull you have ever laid eyes on. And of course, for Zeus, nothing less than perfection is acceptable. So he turns himself into a solid white, like beautiful, magnificent beast, right? His body is snowy white. His horns are gigantic and shine like jewels. And he kind of walks out of the ocean onto land and instantly goes in search of Europa. Now he finds her in a field and hesitantly kind of like walks up to her, right? And here comes Europa. She has no idea who or what this thing is. All she knows is that she's never seen this bull before in her life. If she had seen it before, she would remember it, right? It's an immaculate specimen of what a bull could be, right? It is the most perfect, beautiful, magnificent bull that she's ever seen in her life. And it comes walking straight up to her. And at first, she's terrified. She doesn't understand why this gigantic animal is just kind of walking straight up to her. She doesn't understand really what's going on. But the closer the bull gets, the more peace she feels. There is a sense of calmness and peacefulness that just kind of envelops her the closer that this animal gets to her. And then all of a sudden, she gets the most overwhelming urge to touch this animal. And again, this could be a wild beast for all she knows, right? She's never seen this bull before. It doesn't belong to her or her family. It doesn't belong to her neighbors. So where did this animal come from? But she's feeling this intense desire to touch this animal. So she, very gingerly walks up to the animal with her hand outstretched and just very gently lays hands on this animal. And to her surprise, the bull doesn't freak out. It doesn't start bucking and mooing and going crazy. It just stands there peacefully and silent and just kind of like it's basking in the glory of her attention. And as she gets closer and the longer that she touches this animal, the more peaceful she feels inside, the more calm that kind of settles around her. So she gets a little bit braver. And she gets closer to the animal, and she starts to pet it and she starts to play with it, and she really just starts to admire up close and personal how gorgeous this bull is, right? And the longer she touches it, the better she feels. And until eventually she gets the overwhelming desire to ride it. There is a compulsion that just kind of like pops up into her brain and says, you need to try to ride this bull. You need to climb up onto this bull's back and see if it will let you ride it, right? And in her brain, she knows that this is really not a smart decision to make, right? Again, she doesn't know this bull. She's never interacted with it before. This bull could very well kill her, unalive her. I always forget what we're allowed to say on YouTube or not, but this bull could be an absolute wild, horrible animal, right? And she wouldn't know. But she can't get rid of this compulsion to climb onto this bull's back. So she finally gives in to temptation, and she kind of walks up to the beast, and the beast, like, it knows exactly what she wants it to do. It lays down on the ground, and it lets her get onto its back. Now, for just a second after she's climbed up onto this bull, she is like kind of shocked, really. She never thought in a million years that this beast would actually let her sit on its back. But Zeus doesn't give her long. The animal doesn't give her long. She is on his back for maybe all of 2 seconds before it jumps up and it starts running. And she is now absolutely terrified. She doesn't know what's going on. She is hanging on for she's hanging on for dear life. She doesn't know where this animal is taking her. All she knows is that she is on the back of a wild bull and it is running for its life. Now, they come back to the shoreline and she thinks, oh, well, he's run out of places to run. Now he'll slow down and I can maybe jump off or something. She was very, very wrong. This bull continues to run straight into the ocean. And then he runs and he's up to his neck. And then he starts swimming. And he swims and he swims and he swims. And he actually swims long enough to take her with her upon his back the entire time. And he swims her all the way to an island. Now, she's never been to this island. She has no idea where she is. But where Zeus has actually taken her is to the island of Crete. And as soon as they reach the shore and walk out of the ocean, he kind of dumps her off onto his back. And she's absolutely mystified. Like, what is going on? What does this animal want with me? Why has it taken me on this, what just happened, basically. And then right before her eyes, this magnificent white bull turns into the most beautiful man that she has ever seen in her life. Absolutely stunning to behold, right? Now, she knows she's beautiful, but this man is even more so. Absolute male perfection, an Adonis standing right in front of her. And when it comes to Zeus, he wants the same thing from Europa that he wants from every mortal woman that he ever has anything to do with. The minute he turns into a man, and of course, she's stunned. She's stunned by what has just happened. She's stunned by his beauty. And the minute Zeus turns back into a man, he propositions her. Now, we all know that this is what Zeus is known for. He is very well known for having a thing for mortal women. And with Europa, it really was no different. And the minute he propositions her, of course she's going to accept, right? She's absolutely shocked and stunned and just kind of been taken for a wild ride and is like, okay, well, let's go for another one. So they couple together underneath a cypress tree on the shores of the island of Crete. Now, this coupling was there and done. It's over and gone. And as soon as the coupling is done, Zeus kind of checks out. He says, thanks so much. See you later. And he just kind of like evaporizes and evaporates and just kind of flies off, does that thing that gods do, and he's gone. So he didn't even bother to take her back home. He didn't bother to take her back to her kingdom. Nothing. He left her right there on the Isle of Crete. Now, she was from the kingdom of Tyre. And of course, she hadn't gotten the chance to tell anybody that she was going. So nobody knows where she's at. She's never been to this place. She's on a strange island surrounded by people that she's never met before. And now, on top of that, she is pregnant. And she's pregnant and very shortly thereafter gives birth to 3 sons. Now she gives birth to Minos? What were their names? Phoenicia, the Isle of Crete. Europe was frightened to jump off, and eventually they arrived. Zeus had left. She had 3 sons, Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Sarpedon. I'm really terrible with pronouncing Greek names, so if I am pronouncing them wrong, please let me know in the comments and explain to me how to pronounce them correctly. I just think they're really hard to say sometimes. But she gives birth to 3 sons. So Minos, Rhadamanthus, and Sarpedon. Now, she is on a strange island, or in a strange kingdom she's never been before, and has no idea what to do. Now she has 3 children to take care of. So she is a very she's very self-sufficient, though. And of course, she is the embodiment of beauty and grace on earth. So it doesn't take her very long to find someone to take care of her and her children, right? And very quickly she is introduced, because she is so beautiful, very quickly she is introduced to the king of Crete. And very quickly they get married, and she becomes the first queen of Crete. Now, she got really lucky when it came to finding, what was his name? I think his name was Asterion. So she got very lucky in meeting Asterion, because he actually was he actually was a very wonderful man. He was good to her. He was good to her children. He was a kind and benevolent king, and peace kind of reigned throughout his rule, right? So she got very lucky meeting this. Not only that, but he takes her children in, and he raises her children as if they are his own. And things go beautifully for a very long time. Now, you may be wondering, where is Zeus in all of this? Now, Zeus very often is the love him and leave him kind of guy, but with Europa, things were just a little bit different. He loved her and left her, but he didn't abandon her. And he actually came back and visited her several times after she had their children. And throughout these visits, he also brought her quite a few different gifts. Now, some would turn out to be much more helpful than others, but all of them are fairly interesting, in my opinion. So the first gift that Zeus gave to Europa was a gorgeous decorative necklace. And this necklace was forged by the god, the metalworking god Hephaestus. And this actually came in handy for when her sister-in-law, her soon-to-be sister-in-law, was actually getting married. And she used the gift from Zeus to gift to her sister-in-law as a wedding present. And it actually helped her quite a bit. It helped her ranking, things like that. So it came in to be very handy. Now, the necklace is said to have been the necklace of Harmonia, and that is the cursed necklace of the rulers of Thebes. Now, the historians kind of are back and forth on whether it was actually, the necklace of Harmonia. But for today's purposes, that's what it was. Now, Europa later gave the necklace as a wedding gift to her future sister-in-law, but the other gifts she kept, and they proved to be incredibly useful. So the second gift that Zeus bestowed upon Europa was Talos. And if you've never heard about Talos, this one I think is so much fun. So basically, Talos was a giant bionic man. Right? He was a big man made out of metal. I think it was brass, maybe? Generally considered to be another creation of the metalworking god Hephaestus, Talos was a gigantic man made of bronze. So could you imagine, like basically a giant robot, right? And he was made of bronze, and he was gifted to Europa by the god Zeus. And you might be asking, well, what use does she have for a giant metal man, right? And he actually ended up becoming the protector of Crete. He would circle the island of Crete 3 times every single day, basically protecting the waters surrounding Crete from any attackers or would-be predators. And he did this for a very long time. He actually did this until the he did this until the Argo anchored off of the coast of Crete. And then he was able to retire and relax just a little bit. But he was the protector of Crete for a very, very long time. So yeah, super, super useful gift. The next gift that Zeus bestowed upon Europa was the dog Laelaps? Laelaps. Yeah. So it was the animal Laelaps. And Laelaps, I think, is such a super interesting gift. So basically, Laelaps was a dog that was destined to always catch what it was chasing. And you might be thinking, well, really, what use would she have for an animal that was good at playing fetch, right? But really think about it. This dog fetched anything that you asked it. It brought back anything you asked it to, right? So imagine anything that you could desire, this dog would go out and get for you, which is pretty freaking amazing, right? Now, the dog ended up actually serving the Isle of Crete for a good long while, until eventually, in one of its reincarnations, it was tasked with catching the Timusian. I think that's how you say it, Timusian fox. So you have the dog that is destined to catch whatever it's chasing. Now you have it chasing a fox who is destined to never be caught, right? Can you imagine the conundrum there? You have an animal that can never give up, chasing an animal that can never get caught, right? So you have this unending game of cat and mouse, dog and fox going on, and they're basically just gonna spend eternity chasing each other. So eventually Zeus felt bad for the poor animals and intervened and turned, of course you can't just turn it off, right? There's no switch to just say, oh, well, you can just quit now, right? So unfortunately, he had to turn the two animals into stone. But he felt so bad for the poor things that he actually took their likenesses and he threw them up into the sky and created constellations out of them, which I just absolutely love the thought of. Now, the next gift that Zeus bestowed upon Europa was the javelin. And this javelin, again, was a super, super useful gift because it was a magical javelin that couldn't miss. So whatever you threw it at, whatever its target was, it could never miss its target. And of course, in any battle, that would be super, super helpful, right? So that's pretty much like the end of Zeus and Europa. But then we have all of the things that kind of sprung up because Zeus decided he wanted to run off with Europa. So like I said earlier, Zeus didn't let anybody know that he was running off with Europa. Zeus didn't let her family know. He didn't let her father know. So all of a sudden, you have her father, who is, you know, just kind of like looking, wherefore art thou, my sweet Europa, right? I think I'm cute sometimes. Anyway, so this is the starting point for so many other really fun kind of myths. It says right here, excuse me. It says right here, the abduction of Europa by Zeus as the bull was the starting point for many other stories. Zeus was said to have placed a depiction of the bull and the stars as the constellation Taurus in remembrance of his love affair. Now, he was so affected by his affair with Europa, even though it was only just that one time. He was so affected and so pleased with himself about turning himself into a bull that he actually took the likeness of the animal he turned into and threw it up in the stars with the fox and the dog. And I think this is so super cute because I'm a Taurus and I just love that. I love that now I know why Taurus is called Taurus, right? But I wasn't even aware that there was a constellation called Taurus, and of course I have no idea where it is in the sky. So now all I really want to do is find out where the constellation Taurus is. But I think it is super, super cute. But again, this is the kind of like the starting off point for so many more different myths. And this is kind of how everything intertwines and interconnects. And I think that's why Greek mythology is so super interesting, just because there's always a way to kind of piece everything together. Now, the abduction of Europa was ultimately caused the founding of other city-states in the ancient world. And this is where Europa's daddy and brothers come into play. Now, again, like I said, he didn't tell anybody he was absconding with Europa. He didn't sit there and say, leave a thank you card, thank you for your daughter, you're never going to see her again. So when they find out that Europa is missing, of course, they're going to search for her. Now, her father was frantic when he discovered that she was gone. And of course, Zeus didn't leave any clues behind as to who he was or where he took her. So in comes Europa's father, and her 3 brothers. He says he sends all 3 of his sons. He says, you need to go find your sister. I don't know where she went, but we have to find her. And he has 3 sons, and he sends all 3 of his sons in different directions, all to go look for Europa. Now, none of his sons would ever make it back to Tyre, and they all discovered city-states of their own. So King Europa's father dispatched his 3 sons to find his daughter, but there was no clue as to who had taken her or where she had been taken. Each brother set out on their hopeless task and went their separate ways, never to return to Tyre. It said Phoenix was said to have departed to Africa. Candace went to mainland Greece and founded Thebes. And then Cilix went to Asia Minor and founded Cilicia. The son of Cilix, Thasus, went with his father and founded Thasos. And founded Thasos. So just from this one story, you have so many new kind of explanations as to why, right? And then we kind of move on to Europa's sons. Now, again, she had 3 sons of her own, and each of her sons was beautiful and special in their own way. Each of them, of course, was half god. I think that makes them demigods, but each of them was special in their own way. But the most famous by far of all of her children was Minos. Now, when King Asterion died, he had left the kingdom to Minos because he was the oldest of all 3 of the sons. And that was what was done, right? You leave the kingdom to the oldest child, right? But was it Rad or Sarpedon? But Sarpedon didn't like this at all, right? So he challenges Minos for power of Crete. And this doesn't go very well for Sarpedon. Minos ends up defeating his little brother and then exiles him. The king had named Minos' successor. And when Minos won power over Crete, he exiled Sarpedon to Lycia, and actually Sarpedon became the king of Lycia. So he was still able to gain power, just not over the island that he had wanted in the first place. Now the 2 sons you have left are Minos and Rhadamanthus. Now, Minos and Rhadamanthus both co-ruled Crete for quite a while, and they did so amicably and peacefully. But Minos had his own problems, y'all. Minos was he was a troubled man, and had a hard time reconciling with the fact that the people liked his brother more. The people were very, very fond of Rad, and he was kind, and he was benevolent, and he was sweet, and the people just really kind of identified with that, right? And then you have Minos, who was a little bit power hungry. He's a little bit mad and not nearly as kind as his little brother. So of course Minos is going to grow very jealous about the fact that his people, because he's the ruler, he's sharing power with Rad, but Rad's not the ruler, Minos is. And of course he's going to get jealous about the fact that his little brother is more popular than he is. So what does he do? He says, you know what, you gotta go. You gotta skedaddle. I am not here for this. I understand that you're just doing what you're doing, but I don't like it. And you gotta go. So he actually ends up threatening to unalive. That is so not even. He actually ends up threatening to unalive his little brother if his little brother doesn't skedaddle. So Rhadamanthus picks up his bag and he flees to Rad either left Crete on his own or was driven into exile and settled in the Greek region of Beaute. I know that is not how you say that, but he settled in a different part of Greece. Now, there he married a widowed woman. She was a Mysian. She was a princess. Y'all, I'm so sorry. She was a princess named Alcmene. And I know we've all heard of Alcmene because she is the mother of Heracles. Now, Heracles is also the son of Zeus. So, Rhadamanthus actually ends up being the stepfather of his little brother. Again, everything freaking ties back into each other. So, which I thought was so funny. So he actually ends up being the stepfather to his little brother. Now, he doesn't know it at the time, but of course, his stepson, is actually his half-brother, who is also a demigod and the son of Zeus. I know it's confusing, but that's where we are. Now, as for Minos, right? Again, he is the one who really, y'all, he just kind of took it there. He got the messed up side of his daddy's genes for sure. Because after he exiled both of his little brothers, he still wasn't happy. He still didn't have enough power. He still wasn't king enough, right? So he decides that he's going to go out and he's going to conquer, right? And actually, he was really, really great when it came to battles. He was really great when it came to strategizing. And actually, the island of Crete prospered under his rule. Now, he was not a very benevolent king, he was not a kind king, and he was not good to his people, but he did bring great prosperity and great wealth to his kingdom while he was the ruler. He actually... What did he say? The most famous of the brothers was Minos. He built a great palace at Knossos and turned Crete into a very powerful kingdom. The island nation conquered much of mainland Greece, including Attica and the city of Athens. Minos proved to be an arrogant king, though, and the reason being is because after all of his great victories and after winning all of these, giant battles, the god Poseidon actually decided to gift Minos another bull. And you're going to see that the bull kind of becomes like a talisman for the island of Crete. And where it started out as something positive and wonderful, it gets turned just into something sick and twisted. Now, the god Poseidon, who is arguably one of the most crazy and hateful gods of them all, I really am not a big fan of Poseidon at all, but he gifts Minos what you guessed it, a giant white bull. And it absolutely is another extravagant specimen of the species, right? Absolutely stunning animal. Now, the reason that this animal was so amazing and that this gift was so poignant is because the gift was meant to be a sacrifice. Now, he gifted Minos this animal, and in turn, Minos was supposed to sacrifice the animal in Poseidon's name. And the reason that it makes it so poignant is because, of course, you don't want to do that, right? If you're gifted such an amazing animal, of course you would rather keep it for yourself, keep it as a totem for your island. But no, you're supposed to turn around and give it right back to Poseidon. It was kind of a test in a lot of ways. And Minos absolutely failed this test. He failed it terribly. So instead of Minos doing what he was supposed to do, I am having a really hard time getting myself sculpted today. It's just not wanting to stick for some reason. But instead of Minos turning around and sacrificing this animal to his uncle, he doesn't. He decides that he's going to keep this animal for himself. And in doing so, really PO'd Poseidon right off, right? Poseidon was not happy about this. And where I say Poseidon is absolutely crazy and definitely one of my least favorites of the gods, because instead of Poseidon coming and being like, I don't like that, you need to fix that, or instead of him taking out his rage on the person that actually bothered him, he doesn't do that. He is like barbaric about it. He goes to Minos's wife, who has done nothing wrong to this man, has done nothing wrong to this god at all. And he goes up to Minos, and first he goes up to the bull and he drives the bull mad. He makes the bull go absolutely insane. And so this bull starts to terrorize the island of Crete. It starts unaliving people. It starts causing chaos, but that's not enough. Now Poseidon goes up to Minos's wife and he makes her fall in love with the crazy beast, right? So you have this you have a sick, twisted kind of flip-flop on Zeus and Europa. And now you have Alcmene. Was it Alcmene? No. You have Minos's wife and this bull. And I think her name starts with a P, but I don't remember it. And she has fallen in love with this animal. And not only is it incredibly dangerous, right? But it's sick and it's twisted and it's evil. And it's barbaric. So, of course, the absolute most worst, terrible thing that could happen happens, and Minos' wife falls pregnant, right? And she falls pregnant. She's been impregnated by this beast. And on top of that, she conceives and she gives birth to the Minotaur. Now, if you've never heard of the Minotaur, so the Minotaur is this absolutely bestial, half human, half bull. It's got the head of a bull and the body of a man, and it is cursed with an unquenchable bloodlust and hunger for human flesh. So she gives birth to this terror, and it continues to terrorize the island. And so much so that Minos actually has to get Daedalus, who is a very famous architect of the time, to come to the island and construct the labyrinth underneath Crete. And the Minotaur is so powerful that they can't contain him. They can't keep him locked up. They can't catch him. So the only thing they can do is lure him into this labyrinth and trap him in the labyrinth. Now, again, still, that's not enough. So every few weeks or every few months, they have to sacrifice poor people to the Minotaur. And of course, they just conquered Athens, right? So Minos makes a decree that every so often, men and women have to sacrifice themselves. They have to come to Crete from Athens and sacrifice themselves to the Minotaur in the labyrinth. Now, you would think that, okay, that's got to be terrible enough. That's got to be enough. Poseidon's got to be happy. Well, maybe Poseidon was happy, but the fates definitely were not. And Minos just continues to get worse and worse. He continues to sink into madness. And, he has to hide his wife's shame underneath his kingdom. And it's really not even his wife's shame. It's his shame because he committed the sin of, arrogance, right? So he's just kind of driven mad by his own life choices. And then he locks up Daedalus. I'm not exactly sure how to say it, but he locks up the architect. Not only does he lock up the architect, but he locks up the architect with his son. Now, I know that you've probably heard this story. So the architect and his son get locked up in a giant tower on the island of Crete, and they are desperate to escape. And because he is an incredibly smart man and a famous architect, he is able to make both him and his son pairs of wings from nothing more than pillow feathers and candle wax. Now, as they're escaping, unfortunately, his son doesn't listen to his warnings and flies too closely to the sun and ends up crash landing into the ocean and sadly doesn't survive. But the architect does, and he flees Crete. He flees the island of Crete, never ever to return. Now, as soon as Minos finds out that his prisoner has escaped, he becomes obsessed with returning him back to the island of Crete, right? He's not done with him. He needs more things built. He still has use for this man. And he didn't release him, right? How dare you escape when I didn't say that you could go? So he goes in search of this architect, and he tracks the architect all the way to an isle, all the way to another kingdom. What is it? Escaped the island of Crete by making wings, and then Minos tracked him all the way to Camicus, Sicily. But, of course, it's not his own kingdom. He is not the one in power there, and has to ask the king of Sicily to hand over this famous architect, right? Now, the king of this country, the king of Sicily, he's not a stupid man and realizes that this guy is useful and I don't want to hand him over to you. So what does he do? Instead of just saying no, and you know what? He probably did try to say no, but Minos was so driven and so mad by this point that he just wasn't going to take no for an answer anyway. So instead, what does he do? Well, he has Minos for dinner. And I don't mean has Minos over for dinner. No, he has this man boiled alive. And you would think that that is where the Mad King's story kind of ends. But you would be wrong, because in again comes Zeus. Now, at this time, Zeus is searching for a way to make the judgment of souls a little bit more fair. And Zeus decided to assign 3 human judges to determine the worth of souls as they passed through the gate, right? Minos and Rhadamanthus were given the task along with the king Aeacus of Aegina. So Rad judged, again, remember he went to Asia Minor. So Rad judged the souls of people from Asia, while Aeacus judged those from Europe. And then in case of an uncertain judgment, or in case, you know, they didn't know what to do, then Minos stepped in and made the final judgment. And that's kind of the end. Yeah, that's the end of our story. But I just think it is so funny and so cool how they take one story and they can turn it into 1,000,001 other different stories. I knew that this video was going to be really long, but I just think it's so much fun. I think it is so much fun to see how one story can evolve into 20 or 30 different other stories. And if there was anything in today's video that you would like to hear me talk more about, I definitely can. I always have so much fun talking about these stories. As usual, I did not finish my makeup, but I had a blast talking to you guys today. Hope you enjoyed today's video. As always, I will post everything that I used for my face in the description box below, along with the tags to all my other socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that good stuff. If you're not following me everywhere, why not? I post fun content every single day, and if you're following me everywhere, you don't have to worry about missing a single moment of it. As always, no filters, no edits, no fancy lighting. It's just me sitting in front of my camera doing my makeup, hoping you guys are enjoying what I'm doing. And until next time, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and remember, you're important. Bye.